Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command, World War II World at War, with our first ever PvP against SirTravis. In the last episode, we moved over here into March 14th, 1941. We had some pretty good work and odds and luck over here at sea. He's advancing in East Africa as we planned him to, and the mistake that I made here is turning out to be not so bad, as he's not really noticing it. Over here, we've been making some progress, and our opponent's morale is just devastated. I don't mean in game. I mean in real life. His morale is devastated from what happened in Iraq to what's happening just everywhere. His morale is absolutely devastated. He seems to have very short-term morale and memory when it comes to things, so just as quickly as it can get bad, it can also get good. So we'll see what we can do, and we'll see what his morale brings him to do. Last time his morale plummeted, he did a gigantic offensive, which then after one turn he deemed a failure. But it's pretty low, and so I can imagine he might be striking out somewhere soon. Regardless, we have a full turn to go through here, so let's get started. He was probably reinforcing his strategic bombers, either that or he didn't want it, like it might have been snowing, he didn't want to bomb during the snow, but he left our rockets and everything over here alone this turn, which is good, I suppose. Let's go ahead and use our rockets against London, dealing 1 damage. Only 1 damage each and every time. I was really expecting it to do more. Action points 1 of 2. Oh, because we could just move again. Okay. The second rockets are present and ready, and they're upgraded, ready to get into position. 21 MPPs to operate them. We're going to send them over to Cherbourg. They have a range of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got a lot of MPPs the enemy has on Portsmouth, so we're going to be focusing that with this one, probably. We're not doing as much damage to London as I thought we'd do with the rockets. It will get better as we get through the research. Right now, we're not really focusing research, however. We're going to upgrade the Catfish sub in port, get it Advanced Subs 1. Been waiting forever to do that, just been held back. It is very, very likely that next turn in April will be the first turn that we go to war with the USSR. However, there is still a fuck ton of preparation to do, and so we're going to be focusing on doing that. Number 1, all of our planes need to be at 10 strength at least. Going above is optional, but 10 is necessary. Our armies all need infantry weapons level 2. Let's find as many armies as we can. We're burning through MPPs already. This is the sole focus. We're not doing research, nothing else. This will make a big difference. Such a big difference, by the way, that this is kind of what's allowed me to crush his fortresses over here. Which is why he came to the conclusion, as I mentioned last turn, that forts are completely useless. Because he's not accounting for the fact that he has infantry weapons level 1 and maybe no infantry warfare. He's in a low supply area, and I'm coming at him with infantry weapons level 2 and some upgraded air defense where he doesn't even have anti-air placed. The Yugoslavians are going to be very optional to what we are doing. They're here pretty late. We can't get them ready and on the front in time, so we're mostly just going to leave them alone. They're not going to be taking care of our front line. We could get that HQ like we did last time in the last when I did a PvE, and then start utilizing them like that. They already had more troops than they needed anyway. So they might see use, but they won't see use on the front initially. Regardless, we've negotiated out a very narrow front to worry about, so they really just won't be as important just by a result of that. Still need to get upgrades in though. So, infantry weapons level 1 to the first army. Now, all these armies directly on the front are set and good to go. 200 MPPs remaining. And we have to operate assuming next turn the snow will clear and that we're declaring war next turn. We have to assume this because their mobilization is starting to get high. 48% is about to go over 50. Not terrible. You could really just stretch this out as long as you want. We don't actually earn a lot of MPPs, though. We need to declare war as soon as possible on them. America's going up is what's more concerning to me, because I don't think I'm actually doing anything to trigger that. But armies need to all be ready. Oof. Upgrading your miners is always more expensive because you don't get any of your discounts. It's 32 instead of 25 for every army that I'm upgrading down here. We're down to 72 MPPs already, and we're still not fully ready. The most important things are ready, though. The German front line of armies and tanks are ready. The corps may not be ready, but everything else is. Even our little miners down here are pretty much ready, including almost in corps. But we have some notable weak spots here that we need to resolve. We haven't done, I think, all of the replacing of HQs that I plan to. For example, Von Lieb here. But he's still good enough that it won't be initially dramatically necessary. So let's go ahead. We're going to upgrade, get advanced fighters on these fighters. 31 MPPs. I'll get the reinforcements next turn. And, man, this still isn't going to be too great. We're going to prioritize the Romanians here and give their HQ the full MPPs they need. And just like that, we spent all of Germany's MPPs again. If the war does start next turn, then we'll be glad that we focus this, and then we should be able to start to actually just branch out in what we're doing, because we won't be able to just hand out all these MPPs as much as we've been doing, because things will be moving, and if they're moving, then they can't get upgrades. And then we'll be able to go back into, you know, throwing MPPs into research and whatnot. There's another corps that needs to reach the front. Let's move the Slovakians out of his way so he gets a chance to move up. It's very obvious that this is about to start April. I think that's roughly when I started it in the PvE as well, although I went really heavy into this. We've kind of, like with Turkey and everything, we kind of have a different plan this time. Ideally, we win. I've been thinking, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I initially only really planned to 1942, kind of. Not even fully, but like mostly. And this is a decent time to review that, actually. With our plans with the DEI and everything, nothing's really changed in my plans. I'm happy, I got the DEI, that plan went well. We're gonna drag this out with America still, as planned. And everything else has gone well. Although, I did make one grave mistake, if I do say so. And that is with Italy. I really overestimated what Italy is capable of, because I'm used to fighting in AI. And I've been processing this while kind of just comparing money and leaving skill levels out of it. Italy makes as much money as India. I think Italy makes less money than India. Especially, you know, they end up losing down here, they're gonna make even less money. I don't really know how much everything's worth, but it's not a lot. And so, at that point, right now, I have Italy pretty much soloing the UK with the exception of German submarines, right? And then any air nonsense that's happening over here, any rockets. The UK, even without Lend-Lease, is making something like, what, 300 MPPs a turn? Versus Italy's like 100. And as you may be able to math out, that is simply not sustainable. Even dedicating all of Italy's resources to the Mediterranean and North Africa, that's a lot. If the British Navy decides to sail down here and he decides to send every land thing he has to Egypt, Italy simply cannot win that. I've realized over time that the UK is probably capable of just invading Italy single-handedly if there's no Germans involved. Hence the importance of Rommel. They've implemented it really well, but it took me this long, this many playthroughs, this many episodes to figure this out. And this will be handy to know for a PvP where I'm playing the Allies, because I really had no idea how to play the Allies. Now I feel like I'm starting to get an idea of power levels. Italy is essentially India. India felt useless, and Italy is even more useless, quite frankly. Germany and the UK are kind of on parity right now in terms of money. But the UK is only going to get more with Lend-Lease. The UK is going to have to kind of share with the USSR if they want the USSR to survive. But that's the situation. I don't really know how my plans with Italy here will go. They've kind of gone under the assumption that Italy will win in North Africa. I don't think Italy will. Honestly. I say that before we've even fired a single shot that wasn't from a plane down here. I don't think Italy's going to win down here. Or in the Mediterranean. I don't think they have the income to do it in the long term. And I think he'll eventually, if he doesn't figure that out, he'll still be able to exploit it. So I've started reframing my plans that I have. Instead of counting on Italy to just dominate all this, Italy's our buffer. Yes, it is the weak underbelly. And he'll probably be able to invade it, but hopefully with the delayed entrance of America into the war as we are planning, he won't be able to pull off anything like Operation Torch or anything into Italy proper. Until, well, you know, not 42, but more like later 43, ideally, right? And that gives Italy more time. And so I'm reframing everything under the assumption that Italy will not only just fail completely in Africa, but that he might just land and conquer Italy altogether. I'm going to do what I can to prevent that. But I'm going to operate under the assumption that this is what he pulls off. Therefore, with our very narrow front and our abundance of units in general, maintaining a land front against the USSR should not be difficult. Certainly. It's going to be still at least as crazy as it was against the AI, but I think in the long run, we have a pretty good shot here. The Caucasus is very, very, very important, and we have to get there. He'll probably invade Iran, and so we can then come down through Iran. This will kind of open up India and whatnot. I feel like India can be held very defensively around this oil. If not this oil, then this town. Regardless, look at this space. It's not very easy to invade India from here. It's probably easier if you go through Afghanistan. So, ideally, we succeed. We get to Rostov down into the Caucasus. We get through Iran with Germany, thus reclaiming Iraq, conquering what he has down here. And then by that point, you know, we'll have a nice Eastern Front against Egypt here, though it'd be very, very narrow. So I'm not really sure if we could win it like that. We have to see how the Italians actually do in the long run. He may choose not to focus there, but he may choose to, and we have to keep that in mind. As for Japan, immediately after America enters the war, my plan with them is not to quite do exactly what I did last time, but something similar, maybe a little different, because we own the DEI already. Philippines must fall, and it will. Certain islands here might be obvious choices, but I'm gonna bum rush it to the Bismarck Archipelago and the Solomon Islands. We're gonna probably take those. Port Moresby is a questionable one, but it's Australia. This is the goal for Japan. Once America enters the war, the island hopping begins. We're going to put an extreme focus on our initial island hopping, even at the detriment of the land stuff, because I think conquering China's not that important. We only need Chongqing to win. Canberra is another victory condition. So the Japanese, I'm going to do an all-out assault somewhere here on the coast, I guess. I don't know exactly where yet, but we'll figure it out. And I'm probably going to lead it with an HQ and then a bunch of special forces, kind of pausing other island hopping efforts in the meantime. And then taking this. We'll reinforce it with different things later, but that's the main thing. Australia needs to fall, because if Australia falls, the UK is weaker. If Australia falls, New Zealand will fall. Every island around here will fall. With the DEI being ours, he'll need to defeat our navy to really make a comeback over here, even with pretty extreme focus. The idea is that India will be surrounded on both sides, so either of our two more important majors could handle India. Germany would take care of Egypt and the rest, and then eventually we'd have to take this, but that's more of a... we have to see how everything else goes first. Regardless, this motor torpedo boat, the B motor torpedo boat, needs to die. It doesn't, like, need to. It's not super important, but there you go. 75 national morale bonus. I believe 75 is what it cost him to make that. It's great at ASW offense capabilities, as I've now learned, not at the defense. So that's his mistake for relying on that. The Coast Guard sub needs to be evacuated because, well, that quote-unquote, it has low supply, it needs to resupply. So let's head up northeast a little bit. We know he's got something down here, some destroyer, so we're going to try to avoid that. Going around and towards France in general. Get the Coast Guard sub to safety, which is going to take another turn or two since we've already attacked with it. But he'd be less likely to run into it here, theoretically. You know, depends what you mean by run into it, of course. He won't know where it is. I could totally see him just going straight east and running into it on accident, but... oh yeah, that's right, he was deploying Ireland. He probably still is. But they're only 28% so far, so that's not too bad. We also have new units to deploy as well. I love how the tier pits doesn't even show up fully upgraded. That's incredible. Oh, and here's your brother, tier pits. It's Bismarck. The two Bismarck-class battleships. I think there might have been a third. I don't remember. Italy has their maritime bomber ready. That's the thing that's going to go down to Malta. Let's just deploy that over by Mount Etna. Speaking of, the paratroopers here are going to have to prepare now. They have 5 supplies, so they can get ready to go. They need to get the fuck out of here, get on a railroad, operate back up to France, and we'll see what we can do with them. But they have enough supply, they can officially leave. We'll also need to get this destroyer out of there. Can't get it all the way back to Italy, but we can get it this far to Sardinia. So that's good enough. Yeah, let's go park it in Sardinia where it'll be safe. Let's swing the U-73 just down here. It's different enough and may help protect the Coast Guard sub. They may both just need to quote-unquote evacuate there. I haven't seen us raiding, I don't remember actually, but I haven't seen us raiding the India line. I don't know if India is providing like convoys. There's no easy way to keep track of that. I could just see my kills go up, his income go down, but overall it's kind of gone down, huh? I don't know. I feel like he might just be going India strong when it comes to India. I feel like he's not sending as much. Holy crap, what is this? Where'd all this come? Oh, this is spending. It's not collected. Here's collected going up. Here's his spending on units. Research was mostly done earlier. He's done some Diplo as India. Probably into communist China, if I had to guess. That's what I'm willing to bet. Let's shuffle the U-37 up. Just to change this a little bit, you know, I guess. Make this a little bit different, but we're going to continue raiding pretty much right there. We have enough supply, so we're definitely good in that area. Supply 10, supply 10. The subs are good. So my traps are still in place. Now, one thing I actually don't know about is one part of the deal we made for getting this destroyer home was like, he said he doesn't want me to prepare ambushes at his port. I don't know if this counts as an ambush. Because every time he describes it, he describes it as a fleet, number one. Number two, like this was already here and he never said anything about this kind of thing. And this is just this, but on the other side. It's just kind of closer, but it's within my area, you know, because these hexes are mine. And it would be totally a thing he could do. He could try to camp these to stop me from going from one side to another. So hopefully he doesn't get mad about this, because I don't think this counts as a fleet ambush. But we'll see. Right, because I have no idea, and I can't ask him, hey, does this count? Because then he'll know exactly what I'm doing. With everything that I've said about Italy, I believe what we have here in Italy is actually a rather slow thing to do. So here's what I'm going to do. We are going to move up with these corps to border the Rhodesians at Siwa Oasis. And boy, we could do pretty well. They're not even fully, like, armed or anything. Supply here won't be the greatest. However, this HQ can move forward to up here, and it's a pretty decent spot, if you ask me. Yes. It can boost supply, the front is nice and supplied still, and now this is nice and supplied, so we can do attacks on Siwa Oasis. Take that to completely eliminate this southern threat, maybe get a garrison moved over here. We have a lot of extra garrisons as Italy, and they don't actually have a whole lot of purpose, but a garrison with 1 or 2 infantry weapons, that's still pretty formidable, I think. So that's kind of my goal. We take Siwa Oasis, eliminate any threat from over here, because his supply would be terrible trying to get out here. I know because I've done it before. And then we can just focus entirely here, right? And for right now, we're kind of dug in as well as we can be in mostly clear terrain with 3 armies that he'd be hard pressed to get past. Supply is going to go up here to 5. It's not perfect until it's at 6. Yeah, one thing I forgot to do was keep moving this first garrison. We want to get it up to Budapest. It's kind of far. I want it to be there in time for the war, so we're just going to operate it. 5 MPPs is nothing, and we have 7. Let's operate it to get right there. I want just that garrison, Bulgarian garrison, just taking care of Budapest at the moment. These are probably going to move forward at some point and be replaced by German ones, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Now is not the time where that's a problem. Here's kind of a wacky idea. So I was considering moving this Yugoslavian here to free up the Albanian corps and send them somewhere else, right? Because then if Italy falls, Albania won't fall, technically speaking. But then I thought further. We have Yugoslavia. There's a lot of extra units. They can have an HQ, 1 HQ. What if we just freed up all of Italy by using Yugoslavia just because they have so much MPPs? Germany would then be responsible for defending Italy proper, right? Italy could focus everything into the Mediterranean and North Africa, not even needing to worry about their own defense really beyond like an island or 2 where they have a garrison. It offloads and then adds more capability, sort of, to Italy. It would make them more formidable. It would at least make them hold longer if they're destined to fall. I think I might do that. Yeah, I think I might. Oh yeah, the Japanese maritime bombers, some of them are also ready to go. I believe this used to be strategic bombers, but they changed it. Because I don't think I paid for any maritime bombers yet, but we do have some. Gotta figure out where to place them. We kind of know there's going to be a lot of convoy stuff passing through here, so definitely around this zone would be good. I think anywhere would kind of work, right? On a town proper would be the best, however. 310 MPPs. 26 to transport. Let's just pay for this transport now and just commit to getting that out there. We'll put this on Nagasaki. It could be a defensive fixture for all the garrisons coming in here in case he tries to be aggressive with any submarines once America's in the war. Let's do some blitz attacks down here. We dealt 2 damage and took none. We dealt 2 damage and took 1. That's fair. We were only supposed to do 1 damage with either attack, so doing 2 each time is great. We weren't supposed to lose any, but losing 1 is kind of equivalent, I'd say. Special Forces, I think, are superior to a Corps stat-wise, but with the supply, these guys are going to have higher supply next turn than they have right now. Having 2 of them here is actually going to, quote-unquote, blockade this town. It's going to actually start losing supply, so he'll be less able to sustain this as time goes by. I could have bombed this. I completely forgot about that. Well, better late than never, right? 2 more damage dealt and none taken. Holy crap, it's almost dead. He'll have to pour some points into reinforcing that. Maybe if I had done that first, we wouldn't have lost 1, but I'm prone to making mistakes. I forget that Italy has air power because they have so little of it, and it's so bad. This is a medium bomber, not even attack bomber. But we did very well on all those rolls, just taking 1 damage to make up for it. I'd say that's pretty fair. Probably better than dealing 2 damage and losing none. We dealt 6 damage and lost 1. Pretty fair deal here. He'll be reinforcing this. It won't be entrenched anymore. Its supply will be going down. I think taking this with even just these 2 corps is going to be really possible. My whole idea up here is really just a matter of who do I think is going to get pushed in on first, Italy or Yugoslavia? And I think the answer is definitely Italy. I think the South in general is just in more danger. In 1943 is when the neutrality edict that we kind of have in place because of his request expires for Greece, and I definitely expect him to try something with Greece. 100%. I expect him to try to either invade it or get it to join him. I'm not sure which he'll go for, but I do expect it. However, until 1943, Yugoslavia is free to just go anywhere else and do anything else. And so we started with 4 corps. That's enough. 1 corps here, 1 corps replace this, 2 down here, and another one right here. Get an HQ later, put it there, get an army later, and use it for if we get attacked, potentially. And then you have the entire Yugoslavian army defending Italy and Albania, and I think that's a pretty good idea. We'll get the 5th garrison moving east because it's going to take a place at Siwa Oasis, and then with this new plan, we could free up literally every other unit that we have, though we may want to rename them as they go, at least like a little bit. So like AE Corps, Albanian Expeditionary Corps, basically, just for so he doesn't guess. RE Corps, Palermo. It's more like Syracuse, Sicily. SE Corps, SE Corps. Oh great, I'm putting core in the name like a fucking idiot. That's gonna go permanently in my list of names. So SE, AE, RE. Also, I don't think I'm being, no, I am. I was saying, I don't think I'm being consistent with capitalization. I am. And then this could just be like SYRE for Syracuse. So that they're still named after where they're coming from and where we left them, I guess. But in a much vaguer way that won't make him think, oh, this is undefended, and then decide to attack it. I think these transports are good to do early rather than later because he's about to be allowed to come into the Mediterranean again. We're not going to have that many more good chances to do this. So let's go ahead and move the medium bombers out of the way. We'll put the AE Corps into some transports. Good to know we can have a little bit of amphibious. Move the Dravska Corps into Tirana. And we'll send you down here. Drop you off there. We could probably pull off one more drop off there if we really wanted to. Say the SYRE Corps, Syracuse Corps. Head down there as well. Let's just move you out of the way. This one has to stay in the rear anyway, because it's going to need to it needs upgrades. It's not actually upgraded yet. Just put that down there, and then we have 2 more corps to transport. We have 71 MPPs. I think that fits into the budget. There are also garrisons that are probably worth transporting as well. And then there's these tanks. These tanks are not actually in position to transport anywhere. They could be rushed down to Syracuse, though, theoretically, because we're not going to operate these Yugoslavians into position. We're not. Something else is going to end up sitting on Belgrade. Probably a German garrison at some point. For now, we'll probably leave one behind, literally just to sit there. Probably the more upgraded one. That makes sense in my head. Wow, meanwhile, we will just start force marching the other ones as far west as they can get. And then eventually we'll send the other one over. For now, the tanks can kind of just stay here, but we'll replace them. We'll get everything nice and replaced. There is still the one on Rome to send. And then there's the Garibaldi HQ. If there's no Italians down here, then their HQ doesn't need to be here. It's technically how that works. And I think I might exploit that right now, actually. Yeah. This is very important. I just realized that right now. I was thinking like, damn, we're not gonna have enough HQs down here. No, we will. Because I can now send Garibaldi down there. There you go. And now we have Garibaldi down here. I could move the fighter and make even more room, but I actually kind of just, I want this guy on the road because he's gonna have to like move up. Because we'll be ready to actually move up with the other group regardless now that we're getting so much manpower down here. 30 MPPs left. There's one more I can transport with these points, and there it is. The SE Corps, we're going to have to drop that off by Benghazi. That's no big deal. We'll drop it off more on the southern front. He's going to think this is it, and then there's just going to be a wave of more and more Italians showing up at this rate. I am glad I did this. It's really the first chance I could get to do this without certain, giving up certain researches. We still need to transport the one on Rome, but that'll come later. And then, of course, there's the tanks, but the tanks are going to be not too useful. We'll make sure both of these garrisons are in place to go transporting somewhere else, because, again, they're just not really going to be needed in the homeland. They're not going to have that purpose. I think the Yugoslavians have them well under control. Bulgaria is another interesting nation where I'm not really sure what we need to do with it, if anything. I never really end up doing a whole lot with Bulgaria. It costs a lot of money, and usually my focus is elsewhere. There's only one more nation to take care of in this turn, and that's Japan, I believe. I may have missed a thing or two without realizing it, but we'll get to all that stuff later. We'll do Japan later. For now, we have a nice full episode. Hope you guys are enjoying how this is going. Let me know what your upcoming predictions are for this war that's about to start. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one.